The United Kingdom general election of 2015 will be the election to the 56th Parliament of the United Kingdom. The terms of the Fixed-Term Parliaments Act 2011 mandate dissolution of the Parliament on March 30, 2015 and that the election will be held on May 7, 2015, unless Parliament itself orders an earlier date. There are local elections scheduled to take place on the same day across most of England, with the notable exception of London. There are no additional elections scheduled to take place in Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland, apart from any forthcoming local by-elections. In the general election, voting will take place in all parliamentary constituencies of the United Kingdom to elect members of Parliament to seats in the House of Commons, the lower house of the Parliament. This will be the 55th general election for the United Kingdom since 1801, though the resultant Parliament will be the 56th, as the first Parliament came about after the co-option of members from the Parliament of Great Britain and the Parliament of Ireland. Electoral system and related details. Although the government initially planned the number of parliamentary seats to be reduced from 650 to 600, through the 6th Periodic Review of Westminster constituencies under the Parliamentary Voting System and Constituencies Act 2011, this change was dropped during the bill's passage through Parliament. The next boundary review is now set to take place in 2018, meaning that the next general election must be contested using the same constituencies and boundaries as in 2010. In addition, the Act mandated a referendum in 2011 on changing from the current first-past-the-post system to an alternative vote system for elections to the Commons. The Conservative-Liberal Democrat coalition agreement committed the coalition government to such a referendum. The referendum was held in May 2011 and resulted in the retention of the existing voting system. Before the previous general election, the Liberal Democrats had pledged to change the voting system, and the Labour Party pledged to have a referendum about any such change. The Conservatives, however, promised to keep the first-past-the-post system, but to reduce the number of constituencies by 10%. Liberal Democrat plans were to reduce the number of MPs to 500 elected using a proportional system. Each parliamentary constituency of the United Kingdom elects one MP to the House of Commons using the first-past-the-post system. If one party were to obtain a majority of seats, then that party would be entitled to form the government. If the election results in no single party having a majority, then there is a hung parliament. In this case, the options for forming the government are either a coalition government or a minority government. If Scotland votes to leave the United Kingdom in the independence referendum on September 18, 2014, it is expected that a 2015 general election would still include Scotland, but the status and role of MPs elected in Scotland would be unclear. There are 59 Scottish MPs, so if the election does not take place in Scotland, or if the Scottish MPs do not take their seats, the number of seats would reduce from 650 to 591. Date of the election. Previous law, an election is called following the dissolution of the Parliament of the United Kingdom. The power to dissolve Parliament has been a royal prerogative, exercised by the Queen on the advice of the Prime Minister. The sovereign has not refused a request for dissolution since the beginning of the 20th century. The guidelines under which this might theoretically occur are known as the Laysol's Principles after the King's private secretary who set them out. As a result, incumbent prime ministers have often chosen to call a general election at a time when they believed they enjoyed a temporary tactical advantage. Under the provisions of the Septennial Act 1715, as amended by the Parliament Act 1911, an election had to be announced on or before the 5th anniversary of the beginning of the previous Parliament, barring exceptional circumstances. Since the enactment of the 1715 Act, Parliament has never been allowed to expire. The previous general election, held on May 6, 2010, elected MPs to the 55th Parliament, which began on May 18, 2010. Thus this Parliament would expire on May 17, 2015. Since the last day that a proclamation summoning a new Parliament could be issued is this day of expiration, the election timetable dictated that the latest possible date for the election was June 11, 2015. Occasionally, a constituency is forced to delay its polling day. In each of the two preceding general elections, One constituency delayed its poll due to the death of a candidate. Fixed-term Parliaments Act. Prior to the 2010 general election, the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats pledged to introduce fixed-term elections. As part of the Conservative Euro-Liberal Democrat coalition agreement, the Cameron ministry agreed to support legislation for fixed-term parliaments, with the date of the next general election being May 7, 2015. This would have coincided with elections for the Scottish Parliament, National Assembly for Wales and Northern Ireland Assembly, which are held on a 4-year, fixed-term basis. In response to cross-party criticism of this, Nick Clegg offered each devolved body the right to vary their length of tenure by a year in either direction. Therefore, the next elections to the Scottish Parliament and National Assembly for Wales will take place in 2016. The Act removed the royal prerogative to dissolve Parliament. As a result, a Prime Minister no longer has the power to advise the monarch to call an early election. The bill originally only permitted early dissolution if Parliament voted for one by a supermajority of 55%. The government could still lose a vote of no confidence by a majority of just over 50%, requiring it to resign. Later, the government amended the bill to increase the required supermajority to 2/3, as applies to the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Assembly. When doing so, Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg clarified that Parliament would be dissolved if no new government could be formed within 14 days of a no-confidence vote. The bill was enacted in this amended form. Delay. SNP MP Angus Robertson has suggested that politicians in the remainder of the UK should consider delaying the 2015 election by a year if Scotland votes for independence on September 18, 2014. Robertson argues that holding an election during the independence negotiations would be a diversion. MPs standing down, Conservative, James Arbuthnot, announced June 6, 2011, Gregory Barker, announced July 14, 2014, Brian Binley, announced July 22, 2013, Aidan Burley, announced February 5, 2014, Dan Biles, announced July 20, 2014, James Clark-Pizon, announced July 3, 2014, Jonathan Evans, announced January 17, 2013, Lorraine Fulbrook, announced September 14, 2013, William Hague, announced July 14, 2014, Charles Hendry, announced March 1, 2013, Andrew Lansley, announced July 15, 2014, Jessica Lee, announced January 20, 2014, Sir Peter Lough, announced September 5, 2012, Sir Richard Ottaway, announced May 28, 2012, Sir Jim Pace, announced March 8, 2013, Sir John Randall, announced July 10, 2014, David Ruffley, announced July 28, 2014, Laura Sands, announced November 25, 2013, Mark Simmons, announced August 11, 2014, Sir John Stanley, announced March 23, 2012, Sir Peter Tapsell, announced March 21, 2014, Tim Yeo, announced February 3, 2014, Sir George Young, announced November 29, 2013, Mike Witherley, announced July 3, 2014, David Willits, announced July 14, 2014, Labour, Bob Ainsworth, announced December 7, 2012. Joe Benton, announced June 12, 2014. Hazel Blears, announced February 20, 2014. David Blunkett, announced June 21, 2014, Martin Catton, announced March 11, 2012. Anne Clwyd, announced February 3, 2014, Sir Tony Cunningham, announced June 28, 2014, John Denham, announced October 7, 2011, Frank Doran, announced October 19, 2013, Frank Dobson, announced July 18, 2014, Hywel Francis, announced November 22, 2013, Peter Hain, announced June 6, 2014, David Hayes, announced March 1, 2014, Glenda Jackson, announced June 23, 2011, Syar Senten James, Dame Tessa Joel, announced November 21, 2013, Anne Maguire announced January 14, 2014, Andrew Miller, announced December 10, 2013, Austin Mitchell, announced April 16, 2014, George Muddy, announced October 4, 2013, Meg Munn. Announced January 25, 2014, Dan Dawn Primerlo, announced November 10, 2011, Nick Rainsford, announced March 22, 2013, Lindsay Roy, announced November 6, 2013, Dan Joan Ruddock, announced January 12, 2013, Jack Straw, announced October 25, 2013, Jerry Sutcliffe, announced May 26, 2013, Joan Whalley, announced November 15, 2013, Mike Wood, announced February 28, 2014, Sean Woodward, announced November 7, 2013, Liberal Democrats, Sir Alan Beith, announced August 7, 2013, Annette Brooke, announced March 5, 2013, Sir Malcolm Bruce, announced October 9, 2013. Sir Menzies Campbell, announced October 9, 2013, Don Foster, announced January 8, 2014, David Heath, announced October 11, 2013, Sir Andrew Sturnell, announced on September 29, 2013, Ian Swales, announced July 11, 2014, Sarah Teether, announced September 7, 2013, Plaid Cymru, Elfyn LLWYD, announced October 19, 2013, Independent, Eric Joyce, announced March 2, 2012, Political parties. As of September 17, 2010, the Electoral Commission's register of political parties includes 392 different political parties registered in Great Britain, and 43 in Northern Ireland. In addition, candidates who do not belong to a registered party can use independent, or no label at all. Likely or potential target seats. The sixth periodic review of Westminster constituencies has been postponed until 2018, under the terms of the Electoral Registration and Administration Act 2013. Which means the next election will be held without new boundaries being agreed. It will use the same boundaries as the previous election. In January 2013, Labour published its list of 106 target seats for the next election. Listed below are some of the top target seats for those parties which won seats at the 2005 or 2010 general elections, ranked by the percentage swing required. These may not be the seats where parties choose to target their resources. Opinion polling in individual constituencies is also another indicator for possible target seats. Television debates. The first series of televised leaders' debates in the United Kingdom were held in the previous election. Comments from senior politicians such as Prime Minister David Cameron have made it clear that they intend to hold another series of televised debates in the run-up to the 2015 election, although they will likely take on a different format, as David Cameron felt that they dominated the campaign. It has been proposed that the debates could start as early as 2014, presumably after the parliamentary summer recess, as not to have an impact on the elections to the European Parliament. It has also been suggested that the debates could still take place in 2015 before the election campaign begins over the longer period of January, February and March. David Cameron has suggested that the televised debates should take place before the campaign itself, as he felt that the 2010 debates overshadowed the rest of the campaign. He was, however, still positive towards them taking place. There is media speculation from individuals such as Michael Crick of Channel 4 News as to who may be included in the debates. He suggested that if UKIP's political fortunes were to continue to improve, and they do not receive sufficient coverage, they could make a legal case against broadcasters that underrepresent the party, if the leaders of the Conservative Party, Labour Party and Liberal Democrats are included. Prime Minister David Cameron has dismissed the call for UKIP's participation. The leader of the opposition Ed Miliband said in January 2013 that the composition of each debate was a matter for the media organisations. In the run-up to the European Parliament election, 2014, there was a series of two debates between the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Nick Clegg, and the UK Independence Party leader, Nigel Farage. According to polling, Mr Farage is reported to have comfortably won both debates, and this has prompted further speculation that Farage could or should be invited to take part in the debates ahead of the general election. UKIP won the European elections, topping the poll. This could now further strengthen Forage's case and increase calls for UKIP to be represented in such TV debates. Opinion polling. The chart shows the relative state of the parties from May 13, 2010 to the date the next election is held, with each line's colour corresponding to a political party, blue for the Conservatives, red for Labour, yellow for the Liberal Democrats and purple for the UKIP. Each dot represents a party's results in opinion polls. The lines are then created by an 8-data-point moving average. Footnotes. See also, electoral calculus, prediction of future general election results using mathematical modelling, European Parliament election, 2014, references. External links, UK polling report voting intentions, boundary commissions, Boundary Commission for England, Boundary Commission for Northern Ireland, Boundary Commission for Scotland, Boundary Commission for Wales.